All right, let's take a peep into London. Juliana Olainka joins me now. Good morning, Juliana.
Good morning, Chimaze.
Well, hospital patients are to be seen via video link. How will that work? Just all about this COVID-19.
Well, as you said, it's all about COVID-19. It still threatens to dominate. And yesterday we had 13 new cases of coronaviruses detected in England. We've had a further 2 just detected this morning, which brings up the number of cases to 53 in the United Kingdom. Yesterday, during Prime Minister Boris Johnson's 28-page battle plan announcement, health, of course, dominated that. And one of the new health initiatives is that GPs across England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales, if you do feel that your patients could have coronavirus, they should stay at home and have the consultation via video link. Pretty new here in the UK, but of course across the world, telemedicine is a huge hit, very popular, particularly in Nigeria and other parts of sub-Saharan Africa. And over the past couple of weeks, telemedicine has been surging in the stock market because there are patients across China in particular who are worried about going out of their house or they're in quarantine and they want to check their symptoms. So this is something that we're likely to see rolling out in the UK, as they mentioned yesterday that up to 3 million people could be hospitalised. So as well as bringing in retired nurses and doctors, another way to curb the flow of people coming into the NHS is these video consultations.
Perhaps that's the way to go worldwide. Anyway, trade union body, the TUC, is asking the government to provide support for workers who do not qualify for statutory sick pay in the wake of the coronavirus. Is this something to be considered by the government?
Well, it's definitely something up for consideration, and it is dominating headlines here in the UK. According to employment law in Britain, if you earn £118 a week or less, you aren't entitled to statutory sick pay. And this affects about 2 million people. And that doesn't include people that work in the gig economy. So these are Uber drivers, delivery drivers, freelancers, people who, once they stop working, they literally don't get any pay. Now that the government have announced these new measures, which also include self-quarantining yourself. So if you feel like you've travelled from an area that has a widespread coronavirus infection, you shouldn't be coming into work. And what the TUC are saying is that most people will lie because, of course, if you're not going to get sick pay for not coming into work, why would you not? You would mask your cold and flu, which is going to be a huge issue. So they're starting a petition today. I know that they've written to the Health Secretary arguing that once these COVID-19 measures become into phase 2, we're in phase 1 at the moment, then they should consider some sort of statutory sick pay for all those who may or may not be infected by COVID-19 but have to work from home.
Okay, away from COVID-19, a more eco-friendly petrol could be introduced to garages in the UK from next year. Tell us more about this.
Well, yeah, this new Petro E10, it will have the basic douse of petrol that you need to fuel your car, but it will also have 10% of bioethanol, which is made from plant-based products. Now, this is already used across mainland Europe. England and the rest of the UK will have it in their petrol stations by the end of next year. And really what they're trying to do, the government are trying to just let everybody get prepared for the time when we will only have electric vehicles on our streets. According to the data that the government have provided, by using this E10 petrol, we'll be saving about 1 million tonnes of emissions a year, which is the equivalent of having less than 350,000 cars a year. So there's definitely some sort of saving, but the government have warned that if your car is more than 18 years old, so if you've got a 2002 plate or less, you won't be able to use it. And they're also urging people before it's rolled out to check with their manufacturer whether or not their car is acceptable to take this ingredient. But, you know, nevertheless, there is a desperate bid to cut emissions. And this is one way the government are trying to do it before electric cars are the only thing that you'll be seeing on British streets.
Interesting. Well, thank you very much, Juliana. I'm sure you'll have more updates for us later in the day.
Thank you,
And for
Chime.
update on today's trading activities of the Nigerian equities market, let's talk to Temple again. Hello, Temple. Well, I hope that positive sentiment we saw yesterday is still sustained at the market today.
Continuing as we speak, has gone as high as 45 basis points for the key benchmark indices, but then it has also trimmed back by some 10 basis points, again down to 35 basis points. We're seeing interest continuing on the likes of FBN Holdings, Access Banks, basically the tier 1 names in the market. And of course, the losses that we saw recorded against our Boa Cement was recovered today on Boa Cement. We've seen some appreciation on its share price as we speak in the market. The only company that's sort of a source of concern now in the market is Lafarge. That will be WAPCO, going by the symbol of the entities listing in the market. It's seen some 3.45% decline to some 13 naira 45 kobo in the market. Well, we know that the management and of course the board of this particular company will be visiting the stock exchange this afternoon by 2 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. to also close the market and of course brief brokers regarding their connection to the outbreak of coronavirus in Lagos, because as you know, the only infected individual or the main index case that we have in the country, relates to the Italian that returned from Milan and went straight to this particular company. Even though we know that these visits to the stock exchange had been scheduled to hold before the outbreak of this particular epidemic in the country, the visit today is basically coinciding with the initial plans and of course this coronavirus issue that will certainly be addressed. So basically the market is anticipating their arrival in the market at a moment from noon today, and that way we will be able to hear from them how this has impacted the shutdown of their plants, how it has now impacted business and operations and what their plans are going forward. We know again from updates about the coronavirus that some 10 more individuals were added to the quarantine exercise yesterday, and so perhaps this also has the support of the this particular company in question. So that's a major stock to watch to see how all of these developments will impact the share price and of course investor sentiment towards the company. What we know so far is that foreign investors are returning to the market gradually, possibly because of what is going on in the global markets. We know that G7 finance ministers will be meeting. We know that central banks are also dotting their I's and crossing the T's on this particular coronavirus, which has actually been ravaging markets with negative effects. Going forward, we hope that this will also remain sustained in the market, because we know that a lot of institutional investors and of course some retail investors looking for space, looking for opportunities to lock down money in, and the equities market has actually been helping since a lot of them have been shut out of the almost space at the debt side of the market. And so this sort of news is something that will continue to motivate these investors to continue to channel more funds into the equity space. We do hope that this will drive up the indices of the exchange beyond the 26,000 psychological position, which we have it at about this time, Chimeze.
All right, Temple, we'll continue to watch Lafarge, but for the banking stocks that actually drove the market yesterday, how are they doing this morning?
They're doing really well, Chimeze. They're doing really, really well. We've seen a bulk of the volume that was traded today on FBN Holdings. They gave a bit of a guidance, forward guidance. I think it was on Friday, or no, it was on Monday actually, that their earnings will be released soon. They're actually to have a meeting, and of course the close period has been announced. So for going by the code of corporate governance standards, they will have their executives not participating in the buying and selling of shares at this time. And so I think a lot of investors are bullish on this particular bank. So we've seen close to 50% of the transactions in the market today happening on FBN Holdings so far. So Access Bank is also doing well. We know that Guarantee Trust Bank hits some 22 naira on Monday and on Tuesday. But basically, it's trending closer to 24 naira as we speak in the markets. It's all of the banking stocks, the tier one names, I should say,
all right, Temple,
actually doing well at this point in time, and we do hope that this will remain sustainable.
Let's hope so. Okay, Temple, let's call it a day on the show for today. And of course, that's a wrap on the program. Thank you for watching. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwago.